Discover the incredible moment a CEO revealed a life-changing surprise for a single dad's canceled dreams. Jake sat in the dim light of his living room, bills spread across the table like a storm cloud threatening to burst. The weight of every overdue notice felt like another brick on his chest. He held on to the remnants of hope as he watched Lily, his spirited 8-year-old daughter, twirl around the living room, her giggles echoing off the walls. This joyful sound was his lifeline, the only reminder that even in struggle, love could flourish. Every day was a battle. Jake, a veteran, had dedicated his life to his daughter, scraping together what he could after the tech firm he'd called home for years suddenly downsized. His dreams of sending Lily to a good school and saving for her future were slipping through his fingers like grains of sand. Yet, in those quiet moments when her laughter filled the room, he clung tight to the belief that hard work and resilience could still weave the fabric of the American dream. Meanwhile, across town, Emily, the passionate CEO of a rapidly growing tech startup, had her sights set on giving back to her community. But balancing her success with social responsibility was a heavy burden. The glistening skyscraper that housed her company felt like a fortress, towering over the struggles of the very people she sought to help. She often found herself staring out the window, wrestling with her conscience as she looked down at the bustling streets below, where stories like Jake's played out every day. One night, the backdrop of a local charity event blossomed as the community gathered to uplift one another. Emily felt the pulse of the crowd as they rallied for change. Suddenly, she heard a familiar voice, a mutual friend standing before them, recounting Jake's story of unwavering love and sacrifices for his daughter. Every word hit Emily like a drum, resonating in her heart, igniting a fierce determination to make a difference. Moments turned into a realization: corporate benevolence could act as a bridge, connecting lives. Yet, there was a shift in Jake's world. An eviction notice pinned to the refrigerator brought dread. Jake's heart raced. How could he shield Lily from this news? He masked his anxiety with forced smiles while his chest tightened at the thought of losing their modest home. The community rallied around Jake, their whispers of support mingling with his own fears, reinforcing his belief in hard work and resilience. He felt their eyes watching. Could they see the cracks forming beneath his brave facade? As the charity event approached, Emily crafted a transformative surprise for Jake, one that would offer him not just a job but a chance to honor his service. But the shadow of doubt loomed. Would her gesture be enough? The anticipation filled the air with electricity, thickening her hopes to a breaking point. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night of the charity event approached, excitement mixed with trepidation sat heavily on both Emily and Jake. Their lives were set to entwine, but could they bridge the gap between her corporate world and his fight? Jake sat quietly, preparing for a speech, a moment of hope, redemption, and vulnerability looming ahead. Would he step onto that stage, unaware of how profoundly his world was about to change? Would they all find light amidst the shadows of neglect, or would the weight of life pull them under? Lily's laughter had long faded as night settled in, casting deeper shadows within the small living room. Jake stared at his reflection in a nearby window, mind swirling with a storm of thoughts. The clock ticked loudly, like the countdown to a bomb that could either explode into joy or despair. Tonight was the charity event, a night where he would share his story, and on the other side of the room, a woman a stranger to him had plans for his future. Emily's heart raced as she walked through the venue's entrance. The room buzzed with life, filled with familiar faces eager to support a good cause. But the lingering thought of Jake weighed on her mind. She rehearsed her speech in her head, her determination brewing like a strong coffee, bold and invigorating, yet clouded with uncertainty. Would he accept her offer? Would he trust her enough to step across the boundaries they both had established? As Jake arrived, the dim lighting of the venue and the crowd of people instantly overwhelmed him. He caught glimpses of smiling faces and sparkling decorations, all while feeling like he was underwater. The anticipation was like a tidal wave ready to crash down. He took a deep breath, seeking courage from the flickering candle flames on each table. He had to present his truth tonight, not just for himself, but for Lily. The mood shifted as the speaker introduced him. As Jake approached the stage, he clutched the microphone, his palms clammy. The sight of familiar faces from the community, standing in solidarity with him, sent a surge of warmth through his chest. They had seen him struggle, they believed in him. But then he looked out to the crowd, catching a glimpse of Emily's hopeful gaze, and the warmth morphed into something deeper, a fierce determination he didn't know he had. "My name is Jake," he began, his voice steadying. "I'm a dad. A single dad raising my little girl, Lily." The moment he mentioned her name, smiles blossomed among familiar faces, and Jake felt the weight of the world lift slightly. He poured out his heart, sharing moments of pride and moments of despair, and every eye listened intently. Minutes turned into an eternity as he wove through his past, the unfair downsizing, the struggle to stay afloat, and the anxiety that came with every bill that piled high. As he spoke, he noticed tears welling up in some eyes, a nod of understanding in others. His vulnerability seemed to create a palpable connection, a shared humanity that echoed throughout the room. Finally, he revealed the eviction notice. The silence that followed felt heavy, the gravity of his words settling in. "I want more for her," he confessed, voice breaking slightly. "I want to show her that no matter how tough life gets, love and hard work can guide us through." The crowd erupted into applause, not just out of pity but out of respect for a man who wore his heart on his sleeve. And then, standing in the back was Emily, contemplating the transformative surprise she had in store for him. Watching his authenticity, her own resolve began to solidify. As he stepped down from the stage, the applause surrounding him blurred into the background, and there was Emily, moving through the jubilant crowd toward him. Jake's heart raced once again, but this time, it was with curiosity and a hint of hope. "Jake," Emily said warmly, meeting his gaze. "Can we talk?" In that moment, both of them felt something shift, a promise hung in the air, charging the atmosphere with anticipation. What did this powerful woman have in store for him? And could he let go of his pride enough to accept help? What unknown journey awaited them both on this fateful night? Jake felt his heart pound in his chest as Emily took a step closer. The glow of the overhead lights cast a soft halo around her. He searched her face for hints of what she was about to say, but all he saw was sincere warmth and something he couldn't quite define. "Sure, let us talk," he replied, surprised at how steady his voice sounded despite the whirlwind of emotions inside him. He motioned for her to follow him toward a quieter corner of the venue, away from the laughter and cheers that still echoed around them. As they reached a small table tucked away near the edge, the ambience became softer, the atmosphere more intimate. Jake glanced back to see Lily, blissfully distracted by a group of children playing nearby. A sense of calm washed over him, shifting his focus back to Emily. "I wanted to tell you that you were amazing up there," she began, her eyes sparkling with authenticity. "Your story touched me. I know how hard it can be to face those struggles, especially when you have someone depending on you." "Thanks, Emily. It's been tough. But I'm not the only one suffering, you know." Jake took a breath, trying to articulate what felt impossible. "I want Lily to have a life where she doesn't have to see how heavy the weight of worry can be." "I understand that," she nodded, her expression turning serious. "And that's why I wanted to talk to you tonight. I represent a foundation that helps single parents like you who are, well, in tough spots." Jake's brow furrowed. "Foundation?" "Yes. To keep it simple, we have resources, scholarships, grant support systems ready to help you get on your feet. You don't have to do this alone anymore, Jake." There was an earnestness in her voice that resonated within him. "If you're willing, I'd like to discuss what we might be able to do for you and Lily." He leaned back slightly, overwhelmed by her words. I appreciate that, but I can't just accept charity, he said, shaking his head. I've always believed hard work pays off. I've done everything to raise her right. Emily softened, her gaze unwavering. It's not charity, Jake. It's an opportunity. You've worked hard, and you should let people support you when they can. We all need help sometimes. It doesn't diminish you or your role as a father. Jake's chest tightened. The realization that he might not have to shoulder this burden alone was both liberating and terrifying. He glanced over at Lily once more, her laughter, her innocence, the way she twirled in her little dress. In that moment, he felt the weight of pride battling deep-seated fear. What if I take the help and can't give back? He whispered, vulnerability creeping into his voice. Then you lean into it, Emily replied calmly. You'll be amazed how many people want to see you succeed. Start with us, for Lily's sake. Imagine what you could achieve with less weight on your shoulders. She couldn't have known how deeply her words resonated. He felt a flicker of hope, but it battled with his instincts to protect out of pride. I need to think about it, Jake replied hesitantly. Of course, she smiled, respecting his space. Just remember, you're not alone in this. Jake nodded slowly, grappling with the conflicting emotions swirling inside him. Before he could speak again, a sudden ruckus caught their attention, a chair falling over, followed by giggles. Laughing children ran past, Lily among them. Maybe we can discuss this more later, he said, feeling the exhaustion wash over him. Absolutely. I'll be here. Emily's tone was reassuring, and she seemed to sense the weight behind his decision. As he turned to rejoin the party, that familiar anxiety bubbled up within him again. This was a pivotal choice. Could he really break down the walls he built to protect himself and accept a path towards possible relief? That night, the flicker of possibility lingered in his thoughts, challenging the fortress of pride and fear he had held onto for so long. If he chose to engage with Emily's offer, what would life look like for him and Lily? The night deepened, every laugh and cheer reminding him of the journey ahead. Would accepting the support open a door to a future he had never considered? As the crowd around him buzzed with life, Jake faced the ultimate question: was he ready to put his pride on hold for the chance to build a better life for Lily? Jake wove his way through the vibrant crowd, each step heavier than the last. Laughter rang out like music, bright and all-consuming, but all he could feel was a tightness in his chest. The enormity of Emily's offer lingered in his mind, battling against the walls he had built to keep himself safe. Hey, Dad. Lily's voice broke through his thoughts. She rushed up to him, her cheeks flushed with joy, her eyes sparkling like stars on a clear night. Did you see me? I was the fastest. Jake knelt down, scooping her into a hug that felt like a lifeline. You were amazing out there, he said, his voice filled with warmth. In her presence, the fray of emotions dulled, and all that mattered was her infectious joy. Can we do the jumping game now? She asked, bouncing on her toes. Absolutely. Let us go find your friends. He glanced back at Emily, who was engaged in conversation with a couple of parents. Would they still be talking about him? Did she smile at the idea that he'd consider her help? He wasn't sure, but all he could think about was how much he wanted that for Lily. The next half hour flew by, so busy with cheering, clapping, and the joy of simply being with his daughter. But beneath the surface, doubt simmered. As the games wrapped up, Jake could see Emily waving goodbye to the other parents. She spotted him and began walking toward them, her face a picture of encouragement. Hey, Jake. She greeted, her tone light. How did it go? We had a blast. Jake smiled, brushing the sweat from his forehead. Lily is a superstar. That she is. Emily laughed, her eyes dancing as she looked past Jake, kneeling to greet Lily. And how about you, young lady? Ready for your next big adventure? Lily grinned, nodding vigorously. I am. Can I be an astronaut next? Anything you want to be. Let us make sure you have all the support to get there, Emily said, and those words brought back the weight of responsibility Jake felt. Emily turned back to Jake. I don't mean to rush you, but have you thought more about our conversation? Jake felt that familiar flutter of anxiety stir deep within him. I have. It's just a lot to process. He hesitated, taking a breath. It feels like I'd have to give up the idea that I can do it all alone. That's hard for me, you know. I get it, she said softly. And it's okay to feel that way. But you don't have to carry everything by yourself, Jake. That's the beauty of community. Let us be part of that for you and Lily. Her sincerity struck him, igniting a spark of something he thought he had buried long ago, a desire for connection. I just want what's best for her, he admitted, looking at Lily, who was now chasing bubbles in the air. That's what every good parent wants, she replied. And you already are doing an incredible job. But imagine what more you could achieve with the right support. It's not about giving up, it's about growing together. Her words rang true, and Jake found himself lost in thought. The idea of accepting help shifted something inside him. Could it be time for him to share his burden? You make it sound easy, he said, smiling gently but still feeling the weight of the world in his heart. It isn't always easy, Emily said, matching his sincerity. But it can be worthwhile. Jake swallowed hard. This moment felt pivotal, yet all he could do was gaze at Lily, who was dancing in the fading light, a joyous blur of innocence. What would it mean for her? He whispered, a flicker of hope mingling with his uncertainties. Emily leaned in closer. It could mean a future without limits. Imagine being able to focus on her dreams instead of worrying about tomorrow. Jake's heart raced at the thought. Could he really take a step forward, allowing himself to envision a future that wasn't just a struggle for survival? Before he could respond, a sudden cheer erupted nearby. The crowd was gathering around the main stage for a surprise guest announcement. Curiosity piqued, he looked over, his heart pounding with anticipation. Come on, let us check it out. Lily tugged at his hand, her excitement contagious. As they made their way closer, Jake's thoughts buzzed with possibility. What if this night turned into something more than he had ever imagined? In that moment, he felt a crack forming in the fortress around his heart. Maybe accepting help was the key to unlocking a whole new life for him and Lily. But was he truly ready? As they took their seats, the lights dimmed and the crowd hushed. The MC's voice echoed through the open space, and anticipation filled the air. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special surprise for you tonight. Jake's heart raced. What was coming next? Was this the moment something would change forever? Jake's breath caught in his throat as the crowd erupted in cheers, anticipation crackling like static in the air. A spotlight swung around the stage, illuminating the MC, who seemed to thrive on the growing excitement. Tonight, we're honored to have someone very special with us, the MC continued, his smile widening. Please welcome the founder of Kids First and the driving force behind many meaningful community projects, Ms. Rachel Monroe. Everyone around Jake erupted in applause, and he felt Lily's tiny hand squeeze his. She beamed up at him, eyes wide with enthusiasm. Who's that, Dad? Her curiosity was infectious, making the tension in his chest ease ever so slightly. Rachel Monroe stepped into the light, exuding confidence and warmth. Her presence was magnetic, and the crowd loved her. Jake had heard about her initiatives before, how she worked tirelessly to ensure children had access to resources, support, and opportunities. But tonight, it felt personal. As she approached the microphone, Jake felt a strange mix of admiration and vulnerability. This woman was fighting for kids like Lily, giving voices to the stories that mattered. Yet, here was Jake, wrestling with his pride and the fear of asking for help. Thank you all for being here tonight. Rachel began, her voice ringing clear over the clamor. We believe in our community and the power of family. Each one of you plays a part in building a brighter future together." Jake's heart began to beat louder with each enthusiastic word she spoke. The idea that support was not just an option, but a community ethos, pressed against his thoughts with powerful simplicity. Was it really okay to need help? As many of you know, we've launched a new initiative, one that's all about connecting families with resources to help them thrive, she announced. Tonight, we're excited to offer scholarships, mentorship programs, and workshops for parents. If you have dreams, we can help you achieve them. Together. The crowd went wild, and Jake felt a rush of hope flooding through him. He looked down at Lily, who was clapping along with the audience, her innocent joy lighting up her face. "Dad, can we get help? Can we?" She chimed excitedly, her eyes pleading with a mix of hope and trust. Jake paused, his heart pulling in different directions. He thought of all the nights he had struggled alone, his worries wrapped tightly around him like a heavy blanket. But here, now, he could see something different, something brighter. Rachel continued, her words flowing over Jake's soul like a soothing balm. "Let us lift each other up. Because each child deserves a chance to dream big." Jake's chest tightened again, but this time it was a good pressure, a push toward action. The barriers he had built, the fear of failure, of vulnerability, they were all hanging in the balance. As the crowd settled down, Rachel invited a family who had successfully benefited from her initiative on stage. They shared their journey, their struggles, and the way community support changed their lives. It painted a picture of hope that resonated deeply with Jake. "And just like that, we can create a ripple effect," Rachel concluded. "The road may not always be easy, but together, we can pave the way to a brighter future." With every word that fell from Rachel's lips, Jake's heart swayed between reluctance and budding courage. "Can we really do this, Dad?" Lily's voice broke through his reverie, eyes shining with trust. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of change in the air. "I think we can, kiddo. I really think we can." As Rachel stepped down from the stage, the crowd's energy pulsed like a wave, and Jake found himself standing at the edge of a new world. He could feel the weight of possibility pressing against him like a beacon, urging him forward. But as they rose to join the throng of people moving toward the sign-up booth, a voice echoed in the back of his mind. Was he ready to step into this new reality? Was he ready to reach out and accept help, to weave his fate with those around him? Lily tugged at his hand once again, pulling him closer to the bustling crowd, her optimism infectious. As they jostled through the sea of excited families, Jake paused just for a moment, heart racing with the charge of change. What would it mean to embrace this life, to accept that strength could also come from leaning on others? The thought whirled in his mind, a blend of fear and exhilaration. He took a determined step forward. But at that moment, he caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd, someone from his past that could complicate everything he was starting to feel. Could he truly move forward, or was there a debt he wasn't ready to face? Jake's heart stumbled in that moment, the buzz of excitement around him fading into a distant hum. The familiar face, a shadow from his past, stood not far from the sign-up booth, scanning the crowd. It was Ethan, his old college roommate, and the last person he wanted to run into tonight. Ethan was everything Jake wasn't: successful, well-connected, and effortlessly charismatic. The years since graduation had treated Ethan like a king, while Jake had struggled just to stay afloat. He took a deep breath, trying to block out the memories of late-night conversations filled with dreams that never came to fruition for him. "Dad, are we going over there?" Lily's voice pulled him back, innocent and full of hope, but uncertainty swirled inside him like a storm. Jake glanced down at her, her small frame bouncing on her toes, eager to jump into this new life that Rachel was offering. He felt a swell of pride mixed with shame. Could he abandon the past? Just the sight of Ethan made those insecurities bubble back to the surface. As Ethan seemed to spot Jake, his face broke into a grin. "Jake! Is that you?" he called out, stepping through the crowd, confidence bringing him nearer. Jake's stomach churned. He forced a smile, the kind that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hey, Ethan. Wow, it's been a while." Ethan beamed, then turned his eyes to Lily. "And who is this little star?" "Your daughter." "Yep, this is Lily," Jake replied, his tone clipped. "She's excited about tonight." "Excited is an understatement." Lily chimed in, her enthusiasm brightening the air around them. "We're going to get help." Ethan's smile faltered just a touch. "Help? What kind of help?" Jake's protective instincts kicked in. He didn't want to get tangled in a conversation that would expose his vulnerabilities. "It's a new initiative," he said, keeping it vague. "Just community stuff." "I see," Ethan said slowly, his voice tinged with professional curiosity. The moment hung heavy between them, words unspoken, old narratives resurfacing. Jake shifted, wanting to ease the weight of awkwardness. "How's work treating you?" "Busy, you know," Ethan waved his hand dismissively. "But let me guess, you're still doing, what was it you were doing?" The edge in Ethan's tone was unmistakable. It wasn't just curiosity, it felt like an opening, an invitation to compare paths, and Jake wasn't inclined to take it. Instead, he forced another smile, his heart hammering in his chest. "And you?" Jake probed instead, not wanting to let Ethan steer the conversation. "Still the big CEO I read about." Ethan laughed, the sound bright but hollow. "Trying my best. But hey, enough about me. What about you? You okay?" Jake hesitated. Those words from someone like Ethan felt loaded with condescension. Beneath the surface, Jake felt an urge to lay bare his struggles, the sleepless nights, and the endless worries as a single dad. But he couldn't. How could he? He had to keep up appearances, to protect his daughter from the burdens he carried. Instead, he nodded, even as his insides twisted. "Yeah, I'm okay." Lily tugged at his hand again, her joyous spirit anchored to his. "Dad, can we sign up now?" As she pulled him toward the booth, Jake felt the pressure of his past slip away, even if momentarily. He stole one last glance at Ethan, who stood watching, a question in his eyes. Would he reach out? Would he offer support or judgment? With resolute steps, Jake joined the line, Lily's eager chatter flooding his heart with warmth. Maybe this was his moment, the chance to redefine himself. He could step into this new world, with or without Ethan's validation. But just as Jake was about to sign up at the booth, a soft voice interrupted. "Jake? I didn't know you were coming." He turned, and his heart sank further. The last person he expected to see was now right in front of him, Rachel Monroe, her expression filled with concern. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her instincts sharp. Jake's mind raced, uncertainty clawing at him. How could he explain it all? He had already opened a door he wasn't sure he was ready to walk through. Can I really embrace this life? He wondered inwardly, a sudden swell of fear gripping him tighter than before. The question hung between them, real and raw. What lay ahead, waiting in this new chapter of his life? Jake stood frozen, an invisible wall growing between him and Rachel. Her presence was overwhelming, a mix of comfort and confrontation. Her warm brown eyes searched his, and he could feel the weight of his past laid bare before her. Hey, Rachel. Yeah, Lily and I thought we'd check this out," he stammered, trying to keep his voice steady. But the smile he wore felt more like a mask than a greeting. "Lily, ever the light," chirped from beside him, "we're gonna sign up for help. I can't wait to start." Her excitement seemed to fill the air, but Jake felt a twinge of guilt. How could he make her understand? How could he shift the conversation to something lighter and avoid the probing questions he feared would come next? "Help?" Rachel's voice softened. "What kind of help?" Jake could sense her concern, but it nudged at the shame he had grown familiar with. He looked at Lily, her little face beaming with hope, and he realized he needed to protect that light. "Just a community initiative," he said quickly, waving his hand as if brushing away the past. "You know us and our neighborhood always trying to make a difference." Rachel smiled, but he could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. "That's wonderful, but it's okay to ask for support if you need it. We all need a little help sometimes." Her words echoed like a gentle pressure, urging him to speak out. He felt as if he were standing on a precipice, looking down into a chasm he couldn't see the bottom of. Did he want to fall into it? Jake took a breath, dreading the idea of letting Rachel in on his struggles. "Thanks. I appreciate it." "Really," he said, almost instinctively. His fingers found Lily's, gripping her hand tightly, grounding himself in her innocence while trying to remain poised. Ethan, still lingering nearby, was watching with a mix of interest and concern. Jake caught him glancing between him and Rachel, as if weighing options in a game of chess he didn't want to play. "You guys should really sign up," Ethan interjected, breaking the tension. "There's a ton of good stuff happening. It's not just about the help, it's about connection, community spirit, great networking. Who doesn't need that?" Networking. The word struck Jake. It echoed everything he'd avoided since graduation. He didn't want to network. He wanted to connect. Deep down, he longed for something real to grasp onto, something that wasn't just a title or status. But now, faced with two people who embodied everything he resented about himself, the idea felt faint. "Jake? Are you okay?" Rachel's voice pulled him back. "You seem a bit off. If you want to talk, I'm here." Her sincerity struck a nerve. Maybe he did need to talk. The thought scared him and warmed him in equal measure. What if he could share a little? What if it could lead to more than just small talk? "Honestly, Rachel," he started, voice shaky, "sometimes I feel like I'm just treading water. Keeping things together for Lily, and for myself, while trying to make the right choices. It's hard." He inhaled sharply, the weight of his confession hanging in the air. Rachel stepped closer, her expression softening. "That's completely understandable, Jake. It's okay to feel that way." A small part of him wanted to find solace in her words, but another part held him back. Before he could respond, the crowd began to shift, and suddenly, the world around him felt full of vibrant voices and laughter. It circled about them, almost beckoning him to relinquish his fears. "Let's sign up." Lily pulled him toward the booth again, her confidence a shield he wished he could wear. "What's the worst that could happen?" Jake quieted his doubts as he followed her lead, leaving Rachel's piercing gaze behind for now. But he knew it was a conversation that wouldn't simply vanish. Either he would confront it, or it would follow him like a shadow. Just as they neared the booth, a booming voice echoed from behind, "Jake, there you are. I've been looking for you." Jake turned around, heart racing. Who now? But as the face approached, a mixture of bewilderment and unease washed over him. This was someone from his past, and they weren't just here to say hi. He felt the walls of his carefully constructed new life shake. What could this mean for his fresh start? Would they unravel everything? Jake's heart pounded in his chest as he locked eyes with the figure stepping through the crowd. It was Angela, an old acquaintance, someone he hadn't thought about in years, but the memories came flooding back with a rush. She had been part of a different time in his life, a life filled with different choices, reckless decisions, and ultimately, consequences he was still dealing with. "Hey, Jake. Long time no see." She called out, a bright smile spreading across her face. The warmth in her tone contrasted heavily with the chill creeping up his spine. As she approached, he noticed the confident sway in her step, a far cry from the uncertain boy he used to be when they hung out. "Angela," he managed to reply, plastering on a smile that felt foreign. "Nice to see you." But the words left a bitter taste in his mouth. "Are you still living around here?" she asked, glancing at Lily, who had, obliviously, wanders off to inspect colorful flyers at the booth. Yeah, just moved back to help my sister, he lied easily. The truth felt heavy. What would she think if she knew the reality of his life? How he was barely managing, how he was so afraid of failing Lily. Oh, that's great. I didn't know you were back. We should catch up, hang out, you know. Her voice was sweet, tinged with a hint of nostalgia Jake didn't want to confront. Sure, he replied, his mind racing. Catching up felt like tempting fate, a path he was hesitant to tread. Yet, there was something warm in her gaze that made him reconsider. What are you doing now? She pressed, genuinely curious. He opened his mouth to answer, but the words got stuck. How could he explain the whirlwind of jumbled emotions and struggles? How could he say that he was just trying to keep his head above water while raising his daughter? Instead, the smile remained, a barrier against his truth. Just he hesitated, searching for the right words. Working on some community stuff, trying to build connections, you know how it is. Community work. Wow, you're really devoting yourself. She replied, her enthusiasm genuine. I'm impressed. So many people talk about doing good, but she smiled knowingly, never follow through. How about it, we grab coffee, and you tell me everything. For a moment, Jake was tempted. There was something invigorating about the idea of sharing his life story with someone who seemed to genuinely care. But then, the thought of exposing his vulnerabilities threatened to pull him under entirely. He glanced towards Lily, who was now immersed in conversation with the volunteers at the booth, her laughter floating toward him like music. I'm, super busy with Lily, he said, avoiding her gaze, but maybe another time. The words felt like a weak escape, but he was desperate to protect his daughter from judgment. Of course, Angela replied, her smile faltering just a fraction, but still bright. Well, it was really good to see you. I hope things are going well. As she walked away, he felt a mix of relief and regret. He should have seized the moment. He should have let her in a little, let her see the hard work he was doing, how he was fighting for something better. Lily came bounding back, a bunch of papers clutched in her little hands. Dad, look. I signed us up. We did it. Her excitement was contagious, pulling him back into the moment. He felt proud of her, but when he caught his breath, another wave of doubt washed over him. What if Angela told someone? What if what she knew about him resurfaced, exposing all the cracks in the life he was trying to build? Jake. Rachel's voice cut through the cloud of uncertainty. She had been standing nearby, watching him, waiting. Everything okay? Yeah, he answered, forcing a smile again. But inside, he felt a storm brewing. Would he ever break free from the past? Would this be his forever? As the crowd around him buzzed with energy and noise, Jake sensed the turning point approaching, but he knew one truth: the past wouldn't stay buried forever. What would it take for him to truly change his path? He looked at Lily, joy sparkling in her eyes. He had to find a way. Just then, a group of people began to gather near the booth, their chatter growing louder. Someone was shouting over the crowd. Big announcement. You want to miss this. Jake felt a stir of apprehension. What was coming now? His heart raced again, a fresh wave of unease washing over him. Whatever it was, he knew it was about to change everything. Jake's pulse quickened as the crowd started shifting, curiosity pulling them tighter around the booth. Faces leaned in, eager for whatever news was about to unfold. He could feel something electric in the air, anticipation brewing among the throng of people. All right, everyone. An enthusiastic voice boomed above the noise. Jake turned slightly to catch a glimpse of the speaker. A man in a smart suit stood on a makeshift stage, with a wide grin plastered across his face, radiating confidence. We've got some exciting news for the community today. Lily tugged at Jake's hand, her eyes wide with wonder. What do you think it is, Daddy? She asked, bouncing on her feet. In that moment, her innocence warmed his heart. He felt a shield of determination rising within him. "Let us listen, sweetie," he replied, his voice steady despite the anxious knot tightening in his stomach. The man continued, drawing in the audience. "Today, we're launching our community revitalization project. This initiative will support local families, provide job training, and offer scholarships to single parents who want to further their education." A wave of cheers swept through the crowd like a gust of wind, invigorating every face. Jake's heart leaped. Scholarships? Could this be the change he'd been searching for? He cast a glance at Lily, whose eyes shimmered with excitement. The thought of providing a better life for her started to simmer in his mind, an ember of hope igniting. "Wow, Dad. That sounds amazing." Lily squeaked, beaming up at him. "Yeah, it really does," he agreed, the wheels of possibility starting to turn. But even amidst the joy, a shadow of doubt lingered in his mind. Could he truly allow himself to dream of something more? The CEO spoke on, elaborating on the details, mentioning willful partnerships with local businesses, mentorship programs, and community support groups. "If you're a single parent or have been facing hardships, come see us after the announcement. We want to help." As the crowd erupted in applause, Jake felt his heart race. The idea of transformation sparked within him. But a nagging voice warned him, what if he wasn't enough? What if he didn't follow through, as he had in the past? Lily tugged his arm again, bringing him back. "Can we go talk to them? You should go back to school, Dad. You could do it." Her faith in him cut through his hesitation like a knife. Maybe this was the opportunity he needed, a foothold to rise above the uncertainties. Yet fear surged through him, a voice whispering that he'd lose everything if he failed. "Lily," he started, grasping for the right words. But another cheer sounded, claiming his attention. The CEO was gesturing for more volunteers to step forward. "And for our first 5 sign-ups today, we have a special surprise." Jake's heart sank. What now? The reality was crashing against his hopeful wave. He had no intention of bungling this opportunity, but as he wrestled with his thoughts, he didn't notice the crowd parting before him. Footsteps approached. "Sir. Are you interested in signing up?" A volunteer stood there, clipboard in hand, ready for action. Jake looked down at Lily, vibrant and full of potential, then back at the eager eyes of the volunteer. Every instinct screamed for him to back away, yet the urge to push forward grew stronger. He was a father fighting for a chance. "Yeah, I am," he heard himself say. The response he thought would never come rolled off his tongue with unexpected ease. Before he could hesitate, he stepped forward to claim his spot, feeling the reality of his decision ripple through him. But as excitement danced in his chest, he thought of Angela again. What would she say if she saw him like this? He could almost feel her presence, those fierce green eyes glinting with encouragement. Yet doubt hung heavily in the air. Could this really be a new beginning? And just as everything seemed to fall into place, the announcer's voice thundered over the chatter, "Let us keep the energy up, everyone. Our surprise guest is about to join us." Jake turned, his breath hitching. What did that mean? What more could possibly happen here today? The crowd's murmurs buzzed with intrigue, and Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. One truth weighed on him heavily: sometimes, the most incredible turns in life come at the most unpredictable times. And he found himself wondering who would step out from the crowd to change everything again. Jake's heart raced as the crowd buzzed in anticipation. The excitement hung thick in the air, and he couldn't shake the tension crawling through his body. All around him, people whispered and pointed, eyes trained on the stage. His hold on Lily tightened, her small fingers weaving around his hand, grounding him amid the uncertainty. "What do you think it is, Dad?" she asked, her voice brimming with childlike wonder. "I don't know, kiddo," Jake replied, forcing a smile. But inside, nerves twisted like a roller coaster gone off track. The MC's voice rose above the crowd once more. And now, please welcome someone who has dedicated their life to uplifting this community. A wave of murmurs whirled through the audience as a figure stepped into the spotlight. Jake squinted, trying to see as a familiar face came into view. Recognition hit him like a bolt of lightning. It was Emily. Shock and disbelief collided in his chest. The energy in the venue changed, brightened, electrified. Jake's mind spun. Why was she here? As Emily approached the microphone, her confidence radiated, lighting up the space like a beacon. Thank you all. It's truly heartwarming to see so many familiar faces tonight. Jake's heart swelled with pride, each word spilling from her mouth, wrapping warmth around him. Tonight, we're celebrating not just a new initiative but the incredible stories that bind us. Stories like Jake's, a single dad striving against all odds to make a better life for his daughter. One voice among many, stronger together. She knew. She had come to acknowledge him in front of everyone. Jake felt his insides explode with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. Jake, will you come up here? Emily beckoned him, her eyes shining with sincerity. The world around him hushed, and all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. Me? He whispered to Lily, who gazed up at him with wide, encouraging eyes. Just breathe, he thought, reminding himself that it was time to accept the chance granted to him. Okay, he murmured, still gripping Lily's small hand. He took slow, steady steps toward the stage, resisting the urge to look back at the crowd. But when he reached Emily, everything fell away. It was just him and her, their shared understanding lingering unspoken. Jake, everyone here is a part of your journey, Emily smiled warmly, placing a hand on his shoulder. You inspire us all. And today, we are here to open the door to possibilities. A hush fell as he tried to collect his thoughts. The microphone felt foreign in his hand, but this was at the moment he had needed to propel him forward and allow himself to embrace the help he had shied away from for too long. He cleared his throat, steadying his voice. Thank you, Emily, and thank you everyone for your support tonight. My journey hasn't been easy, filled with peaks and valleys. But standing here, I realize I'm not alone anymore. The crowd reacted, nodding, sharing in his honesty. It's not just my fight. It's one we all face together. He glanced at Lily, whose eyes sparkled with belief. I am doing this for her, to give her the life she deserves, free of the burdens I have carried. He paused, swallowing the lump in his throat. But for so long, I thought I had to shoulder this alone. I didn't realize that asking for help didn't mean I was weak. It means I'm strong enough to accept how completely amazing this community is. A swell of applause rose, echoing around him, filling the air with hope. Jake, thank you for sharing your story. Here tonight, we're creating lasting change. We're not just about resources, we're about community, Emily added, her voice vibrant with conviction. Feeling uplifted, Jake realized his worries had eclipsed the joy surrounding him. Each clap from the crowd reinforced the struggles they all shared, and the bond that had formed between them. Let us do this together. I want to take steps forward, for Lily, for us, for every person facing challenges. Together, we can rise higher. Jake concluded, heart swelling as the crowd broke into applause. With tears streaming down his cheeks for the first time, he felt the weight of burden start to lift. Those fears that haunted him each day were released with every cheer. Once backstage, Emily stepped over. You were phenomenal. She said, unrestrained enthusiasm sparkling in her tone. Thanks. I didn't think I could do that, he admitted, breathless from the moment. But you made it easier. You brought me into this. She smiled gently. You did it all yourself, Jake. Just remember, you're not in this alone anymore. Jake nodded, a wave of relief washing over him. Their connection was real, the future felt less daunting. As the event continued, Jake watched Lily chatting with other kids, her laughter ringing clear. At that moment, he felt an overwhelming sense of purpose and hope. Branches of possibilities opened as he decided to lean into this community spirit. Maybe he'd finally let go of pride, embrace support, and watch as they all flourish together. The journey ahead was uncertain, yes, but now, it felt possible. "Thank you, Emily," he whispered under his breath as the night glowed bright with promise. This was just the beginning, a turning point, a heartwarming reminder that sometimes, reaching out reveals the true meaning of strength. It was time to step forward on this new path. And as he watched his daughter twirl in pure joy, he knew he was ready to embrace it all one day at a time. Now, dear friends and followers, this is the moment you must seize. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that can change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions, thoughts, and feelings about this emotional journey. And you need to share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. Together, we can make a difference.